We live in a world where everyone wants to disrupt businesses, industries, as well as education. And wherever we go, there is a certain sense of obsession with the word disruption. Today, we have with us Igor Galligo, a French researcher who is challenging this very idea. Igor, welcome to Great Lakes.
Thank you, Chad. Thank you for your welcome.
So, yeah, my first question to you, Igor, is on this very specifics of the word when we talk about disruption in businesses. Uh, is disruption just a fancy buzzword, or are people across sectors becoming, very addictive to this terminology of disruption?
Yeah, I think that's everyone working in entrepreneurship fields used to listen everywhere, every time the word disruption. This is much more than the addiction. This is a credo. You have to disrupt. If you want to be a good entrepreneur, you have to be a good disruptor. There is this analogy today between the word of entrepreneurship and the word of disruption. And I think that this analogy today is really problematic in sense that it asks a lot of questions because it caused a lot of problems. So I think that it's important to interrogate this association that the word of entrepreneurship today is making between being an entrepreneur and being a disruptor. So I would say that unfortunately, it has become a fancy word. And yeah, we have to interrogate this current trends today in the world of entrepreneurship after observing that if the disruption is applied today in the world of entrepreneurship, and if the entrepreneurs are also responsible for problems that are existing in societies, in this condition, we have to interrogate the relevancy and the efficiency and the goodness of the disruption today.
I see. And while I had a look at all your work in the research field that you are engaged in, especially with respect to entrepreneurship and the disruptions that are taking place in this field, I want to ask you another question, which is centered around, the idea of innovation, right? Innovation as opposed to disruption. So maybe if you could tell us more about, have we reached a point where, disruption is more destructive than innovation?
Yeah, today disruption is qualifying innovation. A good innovation should be disruptive. It's becoming a criterion for innovation. You want to produce a good innovation? So is your innovation disruptive? Yes or not? So so this is a problem because for me, disruption also resonates as destruction. So the question is, what disruption is destroying today? And that is very important key point to understand my critique of disruption today. Because today, the world of entrepreneurship promotes the disruption to give an impact to the technological innovation on society. And I think that this articulation between entrepreneurship and change is very important. I think that the good entrepreneur should participate to changing society. In this way, this is also a kind of political commitment. And I think that is definitely much more interesting to develop a business or to develop an entrepreneurial project in having also a political, social, economical, ecological perspective. This association between the change, the social change, the ecological change, etc., and entrepreneurship is very important. But today, the nature of this change is becoming violent. Violence. There is another word which is very important today into the rhetoric of the word of entrepreneurship. This is impact. Disruption is always quoted with impact. We have to remind us that the word impact comes from the military field. And we have imported this word from the military field into the world of entrepreneurship. I mean, if you think about that, it's just crazy. Do the entrepreneur consider their action as a military attack? Is it really what they want? I mean, the target is the society. The target are the people living in the society. Really? No, I do not hope that. So I think that's the disruption is disrupting the structures and the equilibrium and the ecosystem existing in society. And the rhetoric, the ideologies say that if you want to have an impact from or caused by your technological services, you have to be disruptive. i.e., you have to disrupt and to deconstruct, to destroy the articulation existing between a technological device and a certain society. So actually, the problem of disruption is that to sell a new services or to sell a new product, you have to destroy this relationship. The problem is that this destruction is doing without taking care on the stability and on the organization existing thanks to the articulation between the technological object and the society. So when you destroy the society, or when you destroy the place of a technological object into the society, you destroy also a lot of equilibrium, economical equilibrium existing in society. And so the problem that I have with the ideology of disruption is that it is selling an object in destroying the previous structures existing among the people, and also in the ecosystem, into the ecological field, etc., etc. So I think that we have to think about a different paradigm for entrepreneurship, not based on destruction. It is not new in the field of research because this is a conception of entrepreneurship which has been promoted by Joseph Schumpeter, a famous economist who talked about the creative destruction. And for Schumpeter, the destruction is a part of the creation. And this association between creation and destruction is definitely interesting in the world of art, as Nietzsche, a famous German philosopher, explained. But in the world of society, it's different, because the question is, what are we destroying in the society to be creative? Are we obliged to be destructive to be creative? I don't think so. And when we observe today what is caused by the disruption, I mean by the destruction made by an entrepreneur, we have to think about an alternative paradigm to do not cause destruction. So I think that the innovation can be rethink from an alternative paradigm which exclude the idea that to be innovative, you have to be destructive.
In fact, first of all, some really interesting insights, and I agree with some of the points which you mentioned. Interestingly, you have also worked and you have done part of your research in UC Berkeley as part of your studies. So you've stayed and you have seen the environment of the American society. When you look at Silicon Valley, they sort of glorify the idea of moving fast and breaking things, right? So in your opinion, who actually benefits from this, all of the breaking that happens?
Yeah, actually, this is the entrepreneur itself. This is the investor itself, which are the most and the first beneficial of this dynamic, because the problem is that we are living into a capitalist configuration. So there is actually an economic war, and I'm speaking about a war. So actually, this is what I say, that when we speak about impact, we are importing from the world of the military field a notion, a strategy into the world of economy and society. And I think that it's not possible to create a social peace if we use the concepts important from the military field. And so the most beneficial of that are the people who promote the services, because what they want is to replace the existent object by the new object they want to promote on the market. And this is a goal, this is their unique perspective. And yeah, this is the main problem. So the goal is not to be against innovation. The goal is to think about how an innovation can reconstitute an equilibrium, a new equilibrium in being sold on the market. So that is the big difference I would like to introduce between the disruption and, I would say, the bifurcation. The fact that the innovation should lead to a bifurcation and not to a disruption. In order the innovation can create a change, a bifurcation, but without destroying the previous structures existing, but in building new ones, not destroying the previous ones. So the fact is that when you want to build new structures without destroying the previous one, probably you will lose a certain parts of the market, because if you want to install on the market new object, the entrepreneur today, most of time, wants to win all the markets, wants to conquer all the markets. And this is this ideology of conquests, which is problematic socially speaking, because of course, if they want to sell an object that we will replace the previous one, they will also destroy the previous relationship. And the fact is that in destroying the previous relationship, they will also destroy the different equilibrium. So what we have to think about is, how is it possible to inspire a change, to produce a change, but without destroying which is already existing.
And see, when we see companies, that have disrupted industries, and you can look at examples like Uber, Airbnb, or a Tesla, for example, right? Do you really think some of these companies are really making things worse for the society in terms of having that sort of a disruption with their ideas?
Well, they create a lot of employments for a lot of people, so that is obviously an interesting things. But at the same times, what we can observe, especially, for example, in the French context, where workers and taxi driver a lot of rights and a lot of aids aids and help from the governments. The problem that we are observing with Uber is that the rights which has been created for the taxi driver do not exist anymore. The Uber is very, very, very good example of a disruption services, because it has been installed on the markets without creating new rights for the driver. So first, the driver who work with I would say the basic economy has been completely bypassed by this new trends. And second, the new driver working with Uber are today working without any rights to protect them. So this is typically the problem that we are facing with disruption, is that the installation of Uber and the development of Uber is not supported today, at least in the French context. I don't know how it's happening in India, but I think it's the same. It's not happening today with the right which has been built for the driver since decades, actually. So there was a destruction of the protective system and the protective rights which has been installed and built collectively by the taxi driver. So on one hand, the disruption caused by Uber say, yes, but we are created employments. That's right. But on the second hand, they do not protect the taxi driver. So actually, the question is, can't we do both? I mean, can't we try to develop a new system and taking the advantages that we had before? And this is something that Uber don't care.
Yeah. Interestingly, you have also worked on research around entrepreneurs of chaos. That's very interesting. And so, who are these entrepreneurs of chaos? Are they like visionaries, or are they also keen on breaking things?
Actually, the chaos is the chaos created by the disruptors, because in destroying the equilibrium, the ecosystem, the protection built by the government for the workers, etc., they destroy all the political structures which has been built by generation of fighters, especially in liberal democracy, generation of people who sometimes died for creating new rights to protect the workers. And the chaos is the chaos generated by the disruptors, because disruptors are coming from everywhere. They are very pervasive today, and they are attacking the system and the right system from everywhere. And after that, the right system, after that, the law and the protection has been completely bypassed by new technological services, we are coming back in the past, in a time where the law hasn't been developed yet.
Yep.
And so this is always the problem that we are facing with technology today. So actually, this reflection on disruption also lead us to having a critical reflection on technology, because my position, of course, is not being against technology. My position is trying to develop a technology, including other markets, but always in trying to elaborate a system or law that can protect the consumer and the society from the effect produced by the technology. And the entrepreneur don't care about that, don't care about this protection, this protective system. So we have to think them both. And this is this global approach that I would like to promote.
Yeah, so we take people along with us. We consider we care about our society as well at the same time. So can you give us one example where the disruptions that the company has brought with, in the market has sort of backfired them, gone against the very principles of what it was meant to do for the society, be it in terms of, emissions. There could be greenhouse emissions, or you can let us know. I mean, from the European context, if there is a company or if there's an organization that you sort of recollect has not been able to stand up to the expectations of what disruption is meant to be for for the organization, for the society, and it has just backfired.
I can think today that, for example, there is a very important concern that is coming with AI. Very, very important concern and serious topic, because AI have or will have the capacity to do a lot of tasks which are doing today by a lot of peoples. There is a very aggressive promotion of AI all over the world, especially in the US, from China too. They compete together to be the leader of the production of AI and the installation and development of on the market of a lot of AI products. But again, without taking care about the enormous and the gigantic quantity of people that will be fired because of AI. And so, for sure, AI will develop a new market, will develop a new economic value, but at the same time, it will create a lot of economic problems. So, I mean, the problem of disruption is not just a moral problem. When I spoke at the beginning that the disruption is destructive, and that we also we need to face destruction, of course. But this is also an economic problem and not just a moral problem, because in the case of AI, for example, the disruption caused by the AI will cause a lot of economic problem because of the unemployment that they will cause. And that is something that we have to think about. For example, today, the people who cannot be replaced by AI are the people who are mainly in the world of creation. And even creation, though there is a strong ideological fight to say that AI is capable to create today, etc., etc. So this is not my point of view. I think that's if we consider that AI has also creative capacity, I think that we have a very poor conception of creation. So, but that is another debate. But I think that's if we say that AI is capable to do everything that's what a human being can do, actually, I mean, how can we earn money? Actually, so
Yeah.
that is a big problem that will be caused by AI. So, are you sure that you want to promote AI everywhere? If you promote AI everywhere without taking care of the social and economical consequence of the promotion of AI, I mean, the whole society will be unemployed.
AI is supposed to be an accelerator or sort of an enhancement to the very tools that people use today or have been using for all this while, and it cannot be relied upon on its entirety. So we cannot just, get all our efforts into the emerging tech areas, but at the same time recognizing the fact that yes, for the next couple of years, every second we have a disruption coming in, and yeah, I mean, used to come from Silicon Valley, from the US, but now the Silicon Valley is of India,
Yeah.
right? And we have a lots of stories to talk about. But yeah, I mean, my next question to you is, Igor, you've also done a lot of research on something very radically different around negentropic entrepreneurship. So can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so I think that you talk about chaos a few minutes ago, and chaos can be relied to entropy. So entropy and negentropy are two notions coming from the world of physics. So entropy is the rate of disorder into an organization, and negentropy is the opposite definition, is the rate of order into an organization. Negentropy or anti-entropy is the same. And so the problem caused by disruption today is that it creates disorder because, as I said at the beginning of our interview, it causes a lot of destruction. So in destroying the link which has been built by democracy or which has been built by different ecosystem, it creates a chaos, and a chaos creates a disorder. And the disorder is something that we can relate to entropy. So actually, in the opposite of this trend, in the opposite of, I would say, a disruptive innovation, we have to think an alternative paradigm, sorry. And in the world of physics, as I said, the concept of entropy is opposed to the concept of anti-entropy or negentropy. So what we have to think is to think the opposite of disruption that we can call the negentropic entrepreneurship instead of disruptive entrepreneurship or entropic entrepreneurship. So the negentropy is the capacity of a system to reorganize itself in order to work normally. And this is this negentropic rate that we have to think about and to implement into the entrepreneurship developments today. If not, the society will be completely disrupted and will be completely, destroyed by AI in few decades. And this is a real problem, especially in India, where automation and robots are not already developed in the whole society. There are a lot of tasks which are paid for not a lot of money and which are done by little worker. So if AI is developed very quickly on the market, there will be million and million people who will be unemployed on the market. So I think that's the negentropic entrepreneurship is something that would take care of the consequence of the development of AI on the market. So how is it possible to produce a bifurcation, a change that would take into account this change regarding employability, actually? And that is something that we have to take care and to integrate into the entrepreneurship project itself.
Oh, I think quite interesting insights on negentropic entrepreneurship. I'm sure a lot of people watching this episode will have a lot of key takeaways from your insights. So you're building a global research network between India and Europe, right? What do you think will be India's role in sort of uh, reshaping the future of innovation? Do you think uh, countries like India, will have the major uh, supreme power in sort of leading this initiative?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question and very important question. I think that India, as other countries from the global south, countries in development, is facing disruption much more than uh, Western societies or Western countries. Because India, as China, for example, is composed of a very complex society. The society, the Indian society, as the Chinese society, is very fragmented, not just socially speaking, but also historically speaking. I mean, the people who are living in India are living in different historical time. Even if we are contemporary, we are all in 2025, but not completely at the same level of technological appropriation. Yeah, the modernity has brought a certain conception of technology. So the people who didn't have the capacity or the means to appropriate technology, for example, in the rurality, in the countryside, living in another time. So the problem that India can face is that it can be much more impacted, I would say, by disruption itself, because the people who are living with a past economy in the countryside, in the rurality, will be completely destroyed by the disruptors, including with a technological device, with AI, etc., etc. So I think that's the role of India into this project is very interesting, because we can observe the disadvantages of disruption ideology into India society much more than in Germany or in France or in the US, even if we will also observe this problem. So I think that if we want to build an alternative paradigm to disruption, I think that it would be very useful, relevant, and smart to try to think about that with country as AI, as India, sorry. Yeah, and to discuss about the problem you are encountering today with researcher with who are observing these problems and the fragmentation caused by this problem. So that's why I want to build an international network to try to understand this phenomena and to try to elaborate an alternative, because I think that's, again, India will have an experience that Europe would not have. And that is, of course, a very interesting, rich knowledge that we would have to integrate into for the elaboration of this alternative paradigm.
Absolutely. In fact, India has the talent pool that the society today demands for, in terms of not just in any specific economy. You look at Europe, or you look at US, or you look at Middle East and Africa. I think a lot of our uh, young talent pool from India are, you know, traveling across and joining institutions which are set not just to disrupt, but also innovate on a constant basis. So, my question to you, Igor, next is, how can businesses innovate without getting into the disrupt or die trap?
So again, I think that we have to think an alternative paradigm, and this is what I try to do with the Negentropic entrepreneurship. I mean, this is a research project. It will take time to think about that, and I would not. I mean, if I try to be authentic and sincere with my project, I could not give any clues already. But I would be happy to think about that with different researcher coming from India to this project and to this necessity. But you point a very interesting element is that of course, and I was at UC Berkeley, as you said, and in California, and I met a lot of Indian researchers there, or Indian students, who decided to do a part of the study there, and then they come back to India, and they will introduce their knowledge and the technology that they had observed in California, and they will introduce it on the Indian markets. So can you imagine that the Indian society, which is so complex, a lot of social group, a lot of religion, a lot of historical time, and you have also a lot of people who are traveling around the world, who are taking knowledge from everywhere, and they import it into India. I mean, how is it possible to create a certain stability into this context? I mean, so the richness of the international exchange is very ambivalent, I would say, because on one hand, they will import technology or knowledge into the Indian society, but on the other hand, if they will not be able to assimilate this knowledge and to assimilate this technology into the society, they will create a disruption, and they will create much more problem than they will solve problems, actually. So this is the problem, and I think there is no alternative than having a global approach to these type of things, because what we have, I mean, generally the problems come from the fact that we are just observing one perspective into a world which is very complex. So what we have to do is to de-zoom, actually, our observation of the reality, and taking into account different perspectives from different fields, etc., to have a broader approach of the situation and of the problem. So maybe this is the answer I could give you, and this is the type of holistic approach that Negentropy can bring us. Because again, Negentropy comes from the world of physics.
Yeah.
And I think that the world of physics could also help us to think about something as a cosmology. And cosmology is, you will think about the God, etc., but not necessarily. Etymologically speaking, cosmology is the science of the cosmos. So cosmology is an holistic approach of the reality, and we have to think about how is it possible to have a cosmologic approach of entrepreneurship. It maybe can appear as a little bit esoteric, not esoteric, but spiritual. But again, to face this complexity, you have to have a very large scale in order to pay attention to the different articulation existing between the different elements and technology and society composing the society. And if not, you will have your own perspective. And if you have just one perspective, I mean, a limited observation of society, you will create a destruction. So yes, that would be my recommendation, is to try to have always a global approach of
In fact, so what perspective that we have from whatever insights that you have given today is that there could be alternative ways where a company can create an impact, not necessarily by disruption, right? So there are various ways that a company can, still approach by delivering its services or products. You need not, have that sort of a competition within that market where, you are looking to disrupt every day, and or if you are not, you're feeling the threat that someday somebody else will come and take over your market, right? So I think I get your point, and we'll be very much looking forward to your research once it's done, and we'd be very happy to collaborate as Great Lakes. Uh, my as we're drawing towards the end of our discussion, my penultimate question to you is, uh, you know, when you speak to young entrepreneurs or future business leaders, what are the insights that come to your mind that you wish to always share with them? So maybe one piece of advice that you would like to give to the future entrepreneurs.
I mean, I will tell you the truth. I mean, for me, I'm interested by entrepreneurship to rethink politics. I mean, that is, I think that's, if people just want to make money, I mean, I can understand that, but I think that's what is important for me is to see how entrepreneurship and the entrepreneur are, in fact, political actors. Even if they don't think about that, they have a political effect if they have an impactful proposal. They will have a political effect. So I think that's the advice I could give to young researchers is that they do not dissociate their project to a political reflection. So what um, the question is what their innovation or how the innovation can be articulated with a political task and a political interrogation question. And that is the most important things to do today. I mean, and yeah, so this is something I would recommend is to have a political reflection on your project. I think that this is also the way, I mean, an entrepreneur can have ambition, because the ambition always produce effect on society, and if you produce effect on society, you need to have a political reflection. So yeah, I mean, this is the I would say the connection.
Absolutely.
Yeah, with the ambition is the politics. This is also why, for example, in France, most of the, or for example, l'École de Sciences Politiques de Paris is renowned as a very important institute of political science, but also business school.
Absolutely. No, I think there has to be a strong interlinkage between academia, industry, and the government so that the youths of today get the perspectives of how geopolitics can sort of influence your business outcomes.
Absolutely.
And every single day, I think it's not about how well you can innovate, how well you can impact with your products and services, but I think it's more to do with certain external factors which you do not have control of, but we need to be very vigilant and be in tandem with what the industry or the government is wanting you to work towards. I mean, you look at the geopolitics right now. I mean, there is a lot of upheaval that we see, economic turmoil, the geopolitical turmoil, and things happening in the West impacting what is happening in India, and of course the businesses and the operations here. So yeah, I get what you're saying, and thank you so much, Ego, for this fascinating conversation. And you've made some really bold and very insightful remarks today. And yeah, I mean, any closing remarks?
Oh yeah, I'm very happy of this talk with you, Chahat. I'm also very happy to be here at Great Lakes, and I spent a few days here, and I was very impressed by your institutes and your program. So I really hope that we will be able to do something together in the future, and with the European University too, and the research institute, and yeah, I hope that we will be able to continue to think about this challenge together. Thinking also that we also supported by a you just talk about geopolitics, a very interesting geopolitical context now.
Yep.
I just remind that a few days ago there was a very important AI summit that happened in France, and Narendra Modi, your president was the most important guest actually. So that say a lot. I mean, that say a lot in terms of collaboration regarding the future of AI all over the world, and how India is positioning today into the development of AI into the global market. I think that's what is important. I mean, the relationship that we can hope between Europe and India is that Europe has a strong tradition for democracy, and we have experienced democracy since several centuries sometimes. And I think that we also had developed a lot of tradition and trends into the world of entrepreneurship to think about this relationship between politics and entrepreneurship. So I think that's what Europe can bring to this type of task, is also this connection, this interrogation of the connection on not just politics, but democracy and entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
And for that, I think that's in Europe, not just in France, but in Germany, in UK, in Switzerland, etc. There are a lot of research programs existing today. And I think that's the connection between Europe and India in the context of the development of AI, to how AI can be not a tool that will destroy democracy, but can be a tool that can help the development of democracy. I think that's the collaboration between India and Europe on this task can be extremely relevant and interesting.
Absolutely. No, I totally agree. And we are very much looking forward to our partnership with, Europe, and especially in the sectors where we have recently signed agreements on. And as you rightly mentioned, we were there for the AI Action Summit, and next year it's going to be in India. So
Absolutely.
and we are also very happy to be participating in your summit in the month of May. So thank you so much. You were so generous to give us the invitation, and we'll be happy to participate. And we also propose to have the next edition of the same in India at Great Lakes.
Thank you again, Chahat. Thank you.
And for our listeners, I hope you've got some really interesting insights today, and we will learn of ways where we think and sort of rethink the way we innovate. So follow Igor's work and stay tuned for such conversations. We'll be back very soon. Thank you.